This is Mike.
I'm Jason.
This is Snake Envy. We are thrilled to be joined by Johnny Venom. Now, you are primarily on Instagram now, but you're about to jump into YouTube, correct?
Very much so. I've been asked by a bunch of people to do long-form content, a little bit more in-depth stuff with the same amount of humor and education I usually do on Instagram, but in short form, so I need to extend it to long form.
Fantastic. So, this may surprise you.
Okay.
But we're a little older than you are. When we got started...
I would have never guessed by the gray hairs.
No. When we got started in the hobby long ago, like 40 years ago, the captive hobby, there wasn't much to it. So everybody kind of got into the hobby through wild caughts and herping. What about you, though? A younger guy, how did you get into the hobby? What was your attraction to reptiles?
I would have to say, as a kid, I was down in Florida for a while in Homestead, so my backyard was essentially just a swamp. So I'd be coming home, catching coral snakes, and I guess they're Cecilians or Chalcelians, because they're like these little worms that wrapped around my finger that had teeth.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what they were as a child. I would grab iguanas. Fun fact, they've been down there since I was a kid, so they've been down there for quite a while.
Long
they have
time.
not been released recently. And then I jumped into venomous because people told me I would never be able to handle them in a way that they would not be striking at me, attacking me, and I had a death wish. So I proved people wrong. I'm still here.
Good deal. We definitely want to talk to you. So, Jason, we were down in Arizona a few weeks ago. Tell him a little bit about kind of the differences we noticed between diamondbacks, Mojaves. Like, the behavioral differences were pretty pronounced.
Yeah, well, every species is different, but like you could totally tell the diamondbacks, the western diamondbacks, they're very more docile, want to get away, where the Mojaves will kind of stand their ground a little bit more.
Yeah. Definitely want to put on more of a show. The Diamondbacks, it was clear. They just want to get away. You gotta cut them off. We kind of had to corral them even to film them. The Mojaves, once you kind of interrupt their path, they coil up, they put on a show. What happens with rattlesnakes in captivity or venomous snakes in general? Do those defensive displays and defensive behaviors continue their whole life, or do they get used to you and all that stuff kind of dialed
That's kind
in?
of a loaded gun question, because I have individuals that I have had that were super, super defensive, and then once they learned the routine, they became one of the most puppy dog tame animals, and they would like be very complacent and tolerant of hooking, handling, moving, set in a bucket, pick it, put it back up, no defensive matter. Just like prime example, my monocle cobra, Khaleesi. Everyone thinks because I show videos of her hooding and she's always defensive, she's not. It takes something special to like intrigue her to be like defensive. Like once I pulled out a new filming rig, she did not like that for some reason. She was hooding at the filming rig, so I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna film. But most of the time when I try to film a Khaleesi, most people won't want to see her because she's just placid looking albino corn snake. But everyone wants to see the cobra hood, but like you can literally dart your hand in front of her and she'd be like, I don't care. I'm not doing it for you.
Very used to you.
Yes. But as you were saying with the western diamondbacks and the Mojaves, right? So I would say that's kind of a loaded gun question because it's locale specific temperaments. Because I have copperheads in Pennsylvania in my locale that will turn around and snip and try to bite you instantly. Then I have copperheads, I can go all the way down to Virginia, pick them up with a hook and move them, and they don't care you pick them up. Then I have timbers up at dens that you can pick them up, move them, set them down. Then I have other timbers that sit there and they'll be full defense mode on you. So it's like locale specific. Might be genetic through the pool, the gene pool.
I spent a couple years in Southeast Texas as a kid. And
Texas too. Texas, the diamondbacks
We used to catch the copperheads. I mean, we'd just pin them down with a stick and pick them up behind the head, and they were very docile and they didn't react. They didn't really try to get away.
A lot of times
they would let you step right over them. But the water moccasins, full on show.
Yeah, like a lot of times, some areas you'll see kids walk up to you and pull up a copperhead and be like, "Hey, I found a water snake." I'm like, "No, that's a copperhead. Please put it down, buddy." And they're very complacent. And luckily, the kids don't get bit. Or prime example, you said you were in South Texas. South Texas, the Diamondbacks aren't they friendly in South Texas?
Yeah. So it's interesting. So in captivity, it still kind of varies. Maybe it's species specific. Maybe some of them hang on to those defensive displays longer. It's kind of like bull snakes. You know, a lot of people are intimidated by bulls, but in captivity, they get used to you, and those defensive displays become less and less and less frequent.
And I noticed, like, at least in my collection, like it's an individual basis.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. Now tell us about Nerd. So you've been working with Nerd. How long ago did that come about? And
I've been friends with Kevin for about 4 to 5 years. I would drive 5.5 hours, 6 hours, and help him out with his venomous collection and give and volunteer work and do a little bit of everything up there. I became like really good friends with Kevin to the point where we'd be going herping places and just do random things. And then about 8 months ago, Kevin told me to move up and help him with floor management up at the facility. And I've been doing that since.
Cool. Fantastic.
I'm in charge of like taking care of the larger retics, the crocodilians, venomous I help out with. Timmy's our venomous keeper, or veteran one. And then I do random aimless other stuff like help repair things and everything else.
So you asked to go herping a little bit ago. We just got back.
Yes.
Jason's the man for all the hot spots here in northern Utah. We had kind of a challenge where we were trying to find a snake within an hour.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't strike out.
No, we didn't. We didn't find a snake.
We didn't find gold, but what'd we find?
Wandering garter snake.
Yeah.
Which is a lifer for me because I've never been in Utah to find one of these, so that's one of the first times I ever found one.
Cool. Yeah. So what's really commonplace for us, and we're like, it's just a garter. These guys get a little excited about it because it's a different type of garter than they're used to back east. Any other question?
Yeah, like what? So in back where you live and stuff, what is like garters are our most common? Like, what's your most common snake to come across?
Oof. That's like locale area specific again. So like if I'm herping down in Pennsylvania, if I go to my spot, like most of the times I find a lot of rat snakes. Like I'll find like 30 black rats at one time. And then I can find 15 to 20 garter snakes or 15 to 20 water snakes in that area. And then there was the last time I went with Ben down to Hamburg, and it was like a month ago. We found 22 timber rattlesnakes, 5 copperheads, and no colubrids. Except for one, which was very weird on the flip.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's a weird flip.
Well, the next time you're back in Utah, I almost forgot. So the reason you're in Utah, Clint's Reptile Room 5th anniversary. Mm-hmm. Any bragging you want to do about the competition that went on the last couple of days?
I can say that Red Team did pretty well. And Brian Cusco is Brian Cusco. He did well. He kept his routine.
Yeah, I think he was the defending champ from last year. Well, the next time you're in Utah, give us some advance notice. We will definitely take you herping.
Oh.
We'll find those rubber bows you want to find if it's in the spring. And you mentioned you'd love to see a wild gopher. We can definitely.
That and a tiger salamander.
And tiger salamanders, we've got places for those as well. This time of year, it's all a little iffy, but in the spring, if you happen to get out here, that is golden time.
I can figure that out. And
all of them.
I also learned that herping here is way different than the East Coast.
Very different.
Very much hard. That's very hard.
It's complicated.
We always joke with people who come here from the southeast and the east, and it's like, you can go out for 2-3 hours here and literally strike out and see nothing. And for some people in some parts of the country, that's unheard of. Like, and you know, like you were saying, you can go some places, see 30 snakes. We do have a hot spot or two where that's possible, but no, herping here is very, very different.
The one thing that's funny is like kind of almost all across the country, you know, you're flipping rocks and flat rocks. And they don't, flat rocks.
Yeah, every flat rock I flipped here, I didn't find anything.
The flat rocks isn't like where you flip. They just don't. I mean, occasionally, but.
Yeah.
So, it's very different here.
Very different.
So, question for you.
Bordering the mountains and the desert, so.
So, in Pennsylvania, we would have a time of certain snakes that'd be out during dawn. Then, afternoon time around sun, like, up, they come out and bask. Then, after that, they go back in, and then it starts cooling down, dusk time.
Yep.
They'll be out again. So they have like 3 cycles that they do. And occasionally you'll have like the water snakes and the hognoses who blast themselves with heat. But most of the times when you catch the hognoses and they're blasting themselves, they're full of toads, so you have to be like careful. Otherwise, they regurge those toads.
We tend, particularly in July and August, like that midday kind of stuff, just pretty much disappears. I mean,
you mean you get the garters, you get the coach whips,
occasionally,
those striped whip snakes, the racer stuff.
But I would love to try to catch a coach whip.
But the more plentiful snakes here, the garters, the gophers, the rattlesnakes, like that stuff kind of disappears for a couple months during the summer, except for at dawn and dusk.
Well, yeah, a lot of the species here will become like spring and fall. They're diurnal. Summertime, they're nocturnal.
Yeah.
So
you told me something unique about the rubber boas here, that they like to bask out when there's snow out.
They will, yes, you can go out in February and find these things.
It's the same thing with the Eastern Massasauga.
Really?
The Eastern Massasauga will pop out of its den with snow on the ground and sit on top of a rock and bask.
Ah,
wow.
Nice. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's pretty cool.
Well, Johnny, we appreciate it. It's really gracious
Thank you. I appreciate you guys. You guys literally did a marathon for me.
Great to meet you, and we look forward to hanging out with you in the future.
100%. Definitely.
Right.
I look forward to it.
Thank you.
Springtime.
Thanks.
Yes, spring in Utah,
is better.
and we definitely want to come back east, without a doubt.
Got you.
See those timber rattlers. Thank you.
All right, guys, I'm out here in Utah, and I've never herped Utah before. I talked a big game. I wanted to herp it, and Jason over here told me it's a completely different game compared to the East Coast. And we brought Bob over here. Come on, Bob.
Yes.
You're not ready yet?
You're already doing your thing.
Come on, we got an hour.
Everybody.
We have an hour. You gave me the challenge of an hour to go herp.
We've got less than an hour. It took us too long to get here.
So Bob has to get on the airplane and go. So we're going to try and find as many reptiles as possible, or herpetofauna. So let's do it.
Let's do it.
I don't know. I thought that's weird. Yeah. All these horses. That.
I can sell the train. Send him a Venmo. Do the Hong Kong.